The burial of Qasem Soleimani has been postponed after dozens were killed in a stampede. According to Iran's state news agency, the burial of Soleimani had been postponed, but no further details were available on how long the delay would last. A stampede broke out a short while ago. 32 people were killed and over 190 others were injured in the city of Kerman, where Soleimani was born and spent his formative years. The injured have been immediately transferred to hospitals. Initial videos posted online showed people lying lifeless on a road and others shouting and trying to help them. In a short while from now, Soleimani will be buried at the Martyrs Cemetery in Kerman according to schedule, but we do not know when after this delay. And just like in Tehran and Vows, thousands gathered to catch a final glimpse of their slain general in Kerman. People were seen weeping and unfurling Iranian flags as the three-day mourning period came to an end. A day earlier, a procession in Tehran drew huge crowds, packing both main thoroughfares and side streets. We also saw the Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, weep openly as he led funeral prayers in front of the Tehran University. Tuesday's funeral comes after days of processions that began in the streets of southwestern Iran to Tehran and to the holy city of Qom. In the tense hours following Qasem Soleimani's killing, Iranian commander of the Quds force, who's been appointed afresh, has vowed for a hard and definitive revenge. The leader of Iran's Revolutionary Guards has threatened to set ablaze places supported by the US. Hossein Salami made the pledge before thousands of people gathered in a central square in Kerman, where the funeral ceremony of Soleimani was set to take place. Salami's vow mirrored the demands of the Iranian Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, demanding retaliation against America for the killing. The country's Supreme Leader made a rare appearance at a meeting of the government's National Security Council today. Khamenei laid down the parameters for the retaliation, and as per reports, Khamenei has instructed for a direct and proportional attack on American interests. The Supreme Leader has said that the attack will be carried out by Iranian forces themselves and not proxies. Iran's parliament, meanwhile, has passed an urgent bill declaring the US military and those acting on its behalf as terrorists. And the US military is said to be subject to Iranian sanctions. The measure appears to mirror a decision by President Donald Trump of the US in April, in which he declared Iran's Revolutionary Guards a terrorist organization. As Iran mourns its slain general, the US is firefighting a blunder of monumental proportions. This has to do with a leaked letter from the Pentagon. The letter informs the Iraqi government of America's decision to withdraw troops from the country. The reason? Out of respect for Iraq's sovereignty and the parliamentary resolution to expel foreign troops. It also warned of increased helicopter traffic over Baghdad as the troops get airlifted. The letter created huge confusion, and it took more than an hour for the Pentagon to address the issue. The first clarification coming from US Secretary of Defense Mark Esper saying that the letter was inconsistent with current US policy. He maintained that the administration has no plans to pull out its troops from Iraq. Esper, in fact, hadn't even seen the letter before it was leaked. The second firefighter for the US was the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, General Mark Milley. He said that the leaked letter was an unsigned draft. US troops were not being withdrawn but merely repositioned, is what General Milley said. He blamed the words used in the letter for the confusion that was caused. Couple of contentions, though, stick out in this justification by the US. One, why would an internal repositioning refer to the Iraqi parliament's resolution? The resolution had only one objective: to end the presence of foreign troops in Iraq. And two, the letter referred to increased helicopter traffic over Baghdad. And many eyewitnesses reported hearing multiple helicopters over Baghdad in the wake of this letter being leaked. The letter is a major setback for U.S. policymakers as it shows a lack of clarity on the administration's part. Germany, meanwhile, has announced that it will be withdrawing some of its troops from Iraq. Germany has deployed close to 400 troops as part of the anti-ISIS coalition, out of which 120 are in Iraq. Germany's Foreign Minister Heiko Maas announced that the legal ground for remaining in Iraq was missing after the Iraqi parliament's resolution. Even as Pentagon remains firm on not pulling out its troops, the Treasury Department of the U.S. is reportedly drafting the first set of sanctions on Iraq. And while Trump threatens to attack cultural sites in Iran, both Secretary of Defense Mark Esper and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo have ruled out such a grotesque action. Such mixed signals have revealed a deep lack of clarity from the U.S. administration on Iran. This at a time when Iran is united in its opposition to the U.S. Even as Pentagon remains firm on not pulling out its troops, the Treasury Department is looking to crack down on Iran with sanctions. And now we have WION World is One's West Asia Bureau Chief Daniela Pagani joining us live from Jordan. Talk to us, Daniela. We're talking about a time when Iran has officially declared all U.S. troops and the Pentagon as terrorist organizations. I want you to weigh in on that first.
So the first thing we have to say is that this is a largely very symbolic decision. Why so? Because there is no Pentagon employee, no defense employee coming from the United States currently on Iranian soil, at least to the best of the world's knowledge. Clearly, we cannot account for eventual covert agents or people undercover doing intelligence there. So there is no risk for any American currently for any American military personnel who might be currently in Iran. But as symbolic as it is, this gives us, so to say, the moral authorization to the Iranian Revolutionary Guards and to the Iranian army to eventually attack military U.S. servicemen outside Iran, for instance in Syria or for instance in Iraq, which is maybe one of the possible retaliation that they will perpetrate in order to avenge the killing of Major General Suleimani. So yes, a very largely symbolic action, but also an action that gives the moral, so to say, authorization to carry out extraterritorial operations against the U.S. military personnel all across West Asia.
But Daniela, you have Iran at this point in time making quite a few declarations. We've seen them in terms of their announcements on the nuclear deal as well. But in the meanwhile, there's a situation brewing in Iraq for the U.S. The Iraqi parliament wants all foreign troops out. And now that the entire leaked memo of the U.S. Defense Department has caused a lot of confusion. Is the U.S. looking to pull out its troops? Was there a change of mind at the last minute?
Well, that is certainly one of the options. So we have to reiterate that as of now, no action has been taken by the office of the Prime Minister of Iraq and by the government of Iraq. That's the only authority that can actually formally request the United States American troops to leave the country. Why so? Because it was the government of Iraq that invited the American troops on Iraqi soil in order to fight the Islamic State. That battle is now largely over. So at the end of the day, Washington was already looking to diminish as much as possible the military presence in Iraq, given the circumstances right now and given the fact that yesterday the Prime Minister of Iraq, meeting the United States ambassador, told him that Iraq needs to implement this request by the parliament. Well, yes, we are certainly looking at the possibility of the United States of America preparing to pull out of Iraq. How so and when will they do so? It's still to decide. Certainly the leaked letter is an error which would have been rather avoided if it was possible, because clearly the tension is very high, so leaking that kind of document in these times is definitely not a strategic move, so to say.
Daniela Pagani joining us with that live update straight from Amman in Jordan. Thank you, Daniela, for being with us here on WION Dispatch. Now, a lot...